Hi, Carol. How are you? I just noticed that Scott made a mistake and he titled this chair yoga. So I hope that doesn't make people think like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So it's not chair yoga. It's going to be yoga for osteoporosis. I don't even know if I'm going to be using a chair today. So anyway, all right. Sorry about that. So I hope that's not confusing for anyone. Oh, I'll definitely need my glasses to see who's here. I saw that Carol was here. I feel like your symbol changed, Carol. It used to be a different color, I think. Um, and yeah, okay. And then who else? Sharon. Oh, how's that kitty of yours? And then Carolyn. Hi. I'm excited about today. I'm working on some of my online stuff that I'm creating. And when I do that, there's so much more information for me. And so I'm really just very focused on some stuff today. So I think it'll be good. I think you will be happy. I know Carol will be. Carol likes it strong. Um, and maybe the rest of you as well. So I'll give people a couple of minutes to arrive before I explain myself. Okay, it's 11 right now, right? Yeah. Okay. Anything you guys want to ask me or talk about or let me know about? Any information to share? Maybe how you're feeling. Yeah. And then I think I've asked this question before, but for those of you that are here, um, how important is it to be in person? Like, do you feel that that's more effective to practice when you're in a room with me? Or do you find this to be effective practicing on YouTube or on Zoom or whichever way you do practice with me? Do you find there to be, do you find it to be similar, slightly better, slightly worse? I'd love to hear from any of you about that. So let me see. Hello, Donna. Aw, Sharon, that's so awesome, isn't it? Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, Hamilton, that boy just turned out to be such a love, and they all have their personalities. And he actually sleeps with Scott every night. I mean, I'm there too, but I'm chopped liver. He is on him or next to him, and it is just so precious. And the really cool thing about Hamilton, he's the kind of cat like you walk up to him and he throws himself on the ground and rolls over to expose his chest and his belly, like, okay, give me love. So it's so endearing. And then the other cat that we got when we got him, she's much more cautious. And the really interesting thing is she's kind of coming out of her shell a little bit. She meows a lot, which is really cute. And she'll come over to us. So she's letting me pet her a little bit more, but still, you've got the love bug and then you've got the cautious kitty. But yeah, it's just crazy to look into their eyes, to look into their soul. It's so special. Highly recommend cats. Yeah. Oh God, I love that, Sharon, that you feel stronger. And yeah, Carol, the in-person. Yeah, I mean, I just look at it like, wow, here we are for 20 months or whatever it is, and we're doing this. And for me, I've gotten stronger for sure because I have to do everything. And usually I walk around and I adjust or not adjust, but verbally cue people into more correct postural positions, which is not quite the same being at home. And I feel that when I am in a group format, sometimes people don't want to be singled out. So when I'm in the room, I can say, let's bend our knee a little deeper. Let's push our leg, if I see something that's off alignment. But anyway, yeah, I think that all yoga, any yoga is good yoga. I think it's better to do it than not to do it. And for us to get caught up with the excuse of we can't be in person, because there's a lot of people that they just say to me, when are we going back? When are we going back? I'll come as soon as we go back. And I'm thinking, okay, but what's happening to you now? Because muscles and bones are degenerating if you're over the age of 34. Yeah, I found a study that said 34, and I'm like, really? Anyway, all right. So let's see. All right. So now we have, yeah, he is sweet. All right. Well, let's get started with those of you that are here. Let me get myself back here. All right. So, yoga for osteoporosis. We are going to focus today on our hip joint and your femur bone, largest bone in the body, from the knee all the way to the hip. It's the longest bone. The top of it angles in, and it's a ball in a socket. And when we get DEXA scans, they look at the femoral neck, which is right here, and they look at the femur bone as well. And so it is this part of the body that is the most precarious, and that's because it's weight bearing. And so if you do fracture yourself here, then you're not able to get up and do all the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. And I understand that because I've had weight bearing issues. I've had bone on bone hip. I've had that taken away from me, that ability to do things. And I understand how hard it is physically and the breakdown that takes place in the body. And then also it goes to the mental emotional layer. So it really starts to affect you on deeper aspects of you. So let's focus today on doing the most and the best that we can do in the moment, in the posture, whatever that is. Typically it's a 30-second hold, which is really not overbearing to hold something for 30 seconds. And let's do the best you could do. I'd rather you do something than nothing. So come in, maybe you lift up as high as you can or halfway. Just pay attention to your body, what it wants and needs today. And know that when you demand more, when you ask for more, your body will lay down more tissue for you. You will get stronger, more dense, and better quality bone tissue. And that will be better if you slip, trip, or stumble to receive the pressures of a slip, trip, or a fall. And that will reduce the risk of fracture. And that's what we all want, right? And then we want to feel confident that we actually can trust and rely on this body. And so that's really important. So for today's practice, you're going to need a blanket, a block, and a strap. A blanket, a block, and a strap. And be prepared to really check into your body to see what your body wants for today. So we're going to go down onto the ground, and I'd like to begin with a little bit of a lifting and an opening of the upper body. A little bit of everything coming up here. We're going to do a little inversion to begin with today, elevation of the pelvis, an inverted bridge posture to allow the fluids of the lower body to come up to the head. This will also help to lower blood pressure for those of you who have blood pressure issues. The ones that should not do the high elevation are people with unmanaged high blood pressure. And so if you have unmanaged high blood pressure, you wouldn't want to elevate your pelvis. But if you do have elevated blood pressure that's managed with medications, this is okay for you. So I'm going to put a block underneath my pelvis to raise my pelvis up. If that's too high for you, if you could get an extra blanket, that might be a better thing for you to do. So when we have osteoporosis, making sure we don't round whenever you can raise your awareness to. Do not compress the front of your spine. So here we are, and we're going to reach down to come down onto the floor. And if you have a blanket, I'd like it to be the smallest fold possible. So try to get a very thin fold to your blanket or no blanket at all. So for those that don't have a lot of roundness or poor posture that is stuck in the tissues and held in your spine and your tissues, you may be able to go with zero blanket. And if that's not you, you could get there. So don't think, oh no, that's not me. It's possible to get there. So always something to work on. And then we're going to take the block and lift the pelvis up and put the block underneath the pelvis. This is an inversion. It's a way to really start to slow down your body. And then you could actually lift your pelvis up, place the top edge of the pelvis onto the block so you feel the flat aspect of your pelvis. And this is actually going to be doing a little bit of correction in the pelvic area. So if you have any asymmetry in your pelvis, from whatever, issues in the spine, issues in the joints below, whatever it is, doing repetitive movements in one side more than the other. And then press your arms into the ground, lift your rib cage away from the floor, slide the shoulder blades closer towards each other, and lift your head up so you lengthen the back and neck. So that the weight really comes to the upper back area and not straight down into the head and neck. And then the arm position, I like the arm position at the side. So begin with the arms close to your body. So the upper arm bones are pretty close. And then you rotate your arms open so that your hands go on the ground. This is going to keep the shoulder blades on the back of the body to help support the upper chest, not allow that part of your body to collapse. And close your eyes. Let your back teeth be separated, jaw soft. Begin to notice what you notice with your eyes closed. And then begin to bring the breath down to the belly. So you feel the belly rise and fall. This is actually going to strengthen the top of your core, which is your diaphragm. Really let your belly rise and fall here. And then take 3 breaths where you try to stay with your breath, raising your belly by breathing down to the lower ribs, down to your belly. Feel the diaphragm pressing down and feel your belly rise. And when you finish that last breath, let your breath go. Keeping the eyes closed, bring the palms to touch the ground, the arms are straight. And then walk the knees up towards your chest. So walk the feet back, then lift the feet off the floor, knees come towards your chest. Now, this is stuff I'm suggesting. Maybe it's for you and maybe not. Unbending the knees if you like. Let the feet go in the air as a total inversion. Press your heart up. Make sure you're not caving your chest. Take an exhale and then inhale. Point your toes and then exhale, flex. Pulling the toes towards you. Inhale to point. Exhale, draw the toes towards you. Push the center of the heel up towards the sky. If your low back or this doesn't feel comfortable anywhere else, knees closer to chest, maybe a little bit more comfortable. Knees right above the pelvis is more intense and more work for your core to stabilize your body in this position. Inhale to point, exhale, knees or feet towards your face. Inhale and exhale. Now take your legs about a foot apart and let's do circles. Circles
circular pattern. And if it's too much to be inverted during this, you could take the block out and do the leg position. Circles in one direction, not fast, slow and very, very big. So you feel a lot of stretching. And then in the other direction. Then you're going to take your knees and we're going to bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. Now try to go towards straight. Not everyone will be able to do that. Think about the center of your heels reaching up towards the sky as you complete the end part of this movement, stretching the plantar fascia, the Achilles tendon, the calves, the posterior chain of the body, starting to lubricate the joints, activating core, activating stabilizers, and then come all the way up. Let's inhale to open the legs, exhale to close. So let your toes point straight back when you do this. Don't be in an external rotation position. Toes are straight back. You're inhaling and exhaling. Probably feel some adductor work here. Need the adductors to be strong, part of pelvic stabilization. And then come all the way open to wherever you can, whatever your body will allow. Try to straighten the knees if you can. Reach through your heels. Inhale, and then exhale, come together. Let's bend the knees for a second, noticing maybe some heat and work here in the quadriceps. Always amazing to me that this kind of stuff here is work and you can feel it. Let's go ahead and take one foot onto the floor, then the other, and try to straighten one leg and then the other. If you'd like to bring your arms overhead, stretching your body in this stretch here, maybe you feel that stretch in the belly, right by the hip joint, where the pelvic area here, maybe you feel it alongside your belly. Lower ribs are moving away from the pelvis. Really stretch, stretch, stretch. Breathe down to your belly. Take one more breath. And then walk your feet back. Let's push your feet into the floor, lift your pelvis up, take the block out to the side, and then bring the blanket back if you don't have a blanket there. Draw the knees into the chest in case you need to recalibrate the spine or stretch the low back. Bring in the lower spine into flexion, which could be relieving because its natural curve is extension, and that's where it's stabilizing. So some of the movements we did there really challenge the stabilization of the pelvis and of the lower spine. So let's take the hands to the side. Let's put the feet on the floor and draw your left knee in. Draw the left knee in really deep. And then hold on to left knee and turn the left knee into circles in one direction. And then circles in the other direction. Go ahead, put that foot down, draw the other knee in. Hold on to the kneecap, circles in one direction. So lubricating the hip joint, not getting into any kind of rotational stuff yet. Stretching and lubricating this area we're going to work. Let's go ahead, put the feet on the floor, arms are to the side. Soles of the feet stay on the floor at first, do a little bit of side to side. You're stretching hips, but you're also going to be coming up into the low back area. So you want to make sure that you don't do anything too crazy right away with your spine. So keep your soles of your feet on the floor to start warming up tissue, start introducing the rotation in the spine. And then begin to go a little bit bigger by letting the soles come off and the legs go closer to the floor. Now the goal here is not to have your knees touch the floor. The goal here is the knee that's going to the inside. As it goes down, there's a length away from you as well. So you really lengthen the side of your body. Let your arms be a little higher if your shoulders will let you, so that you could feel the stretch from the lower ribs down to maybe to your kneecap, depending on where your tightness is. We are stretching rectus femoris, which is one of the hip flexor muscles and one of the quadricep muscles. Then next time you come to a side, stay there, let your head go in the opposite direction. Feel the stretch. Take one more breath. Exhale your belly button to your spine, come back up to center. Let your knees go the other direction. Let your head go the opposite direction. Notice if you feel any corrections. I just felt a little pop in my spine, a little spinal correction. This is the side that my body corrects to, which is always great. And then come back to center. Let's walk the knees closer together. Take one knee over the other. Well, actually, take the right knee over the left because we're all going to go the same side. Right knee is over the left leg, back of right thigh touching the top of the left thigh. No space at all. Clasp your hands. Hands are behind the head. Inhale here. As you exhale, draw the knee over to the left. When you get here, push the top right leg away from you. Pull space between the lower right ribs and the top of your pelvis and press your shoulder blades into the ground. Press both of the elbows into the ground. Your right side is not reaching away from the floor. And the goal is not to touch the floor because that's more rotation. You're coming into your spine. I want the pressure mostly to be on the outer hip. So really in that tushy and the outer hip. So push the top right leg away from you with your awareness and your muscles. Create space in your right side between your lower ribs and your top pelvis. Press your elbows into the ground, especially the left. That'll help stabilize and support you here. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself all the way up, back to center. Let's switch legs. Left leg on top of right. Hands are clasped behind the head. No space whatsoever between the back of the left leg and the top of the right. Inhale. And then exhale. Push your top left leg away from you as you let the legs move towards the right. Feel that stretch here, the side of the body. If you let your legs go too close to the floor and you start to lift the lower ribs away from the floor, you'll start to go more into back muscles. Let's try to isolate this here in the hip area. Press your elbows into the floor, especially your right elbow. It'll help with the weight as your weight is moving over. And then create space in between the top of the pelvis and the ribs. Push your heart up. Push your elbows in. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself all the way up. Take your arms out to the side. Push your feet into the floor. Pick your pelvis up off the floor. Move your pelvis over to the right. Feel the left buttock on the ground. Draw the knees into the chest. And then keep your shoulder blades on the floor. Keep your rib cage on the floor if you can. And allow your knees to go over to the side into a deeper twist. This still will be on the outside of the hip and it may be in the back. Now here, some of you may need a block underneath the legs or in between. And sometimes it's nice to go in between the ankle joint. So choose what you need if you need it. And then if you'd like to hold on to the right leg, I think we're on the same side. Hold on to the right leg with the left hand. Let your head look to the right. Keep that right arm, right shoulder blade, entire rib cage on the ground. Space between the top right pelvis and the right ribs. Breathe down to your belly. Twisting your body, warming up your body. This puts some force actually on the lower lumbar spine. So for those with low DEXA scan readings in the spine, low spine, pulling a little bit on the spine here. Also pulling on the ribs, pulling on the top edge of the pelvis. So when we pull on bones, we stress them out. We ask for more. So go into the stretch as deep as you can. We're also on posterior hip capsule, pulling on the back of the top of the hip joint, creating some bone stimulation there as well. Let's take one more breath. And then let's bring ourselves back to center. So sedentary lifestyle contributes to bone density loss. And when you get a reading of your DEXA scan saying you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, and you start to get nervous that you're breakable and fragile, you stop moving or you slow down, and that contributes to more bone loss. So here we are pulling and pushing on our bones, creating more bone strength and a better quality bone tissue. Push your feet into the floor, lift your pelvis up, move your pelvis over to the left, draw the knees into the chest, arms are out to the side, and let the knees go over to the right. Put a block in between your knees, under your knees, or in between your ankles if it's too crazy. Keep your rib cage on the ground. Keep the shoulder blades on the ground and the arms on the ground. If you'd like to take the right hand on top of the left leg, that will deepen the rotational force. Deepen that stretch. Create space in the left side here. So intentionally with your mind, push that top edge of the pelvis away from you. Creating space. And then breathe down to the lower belly area. Close your eyes, feel the stretch. Feel where the stretch is. Let your head move towards the left if you'd like. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring one knee up at a time. Bring yourself back. Let's lift your pelvis up, come back to neutral. Let's draw the knees into the chest. Hold on to the kneecaps. Let the arms go straight. Let the legs. We do talk about eggs in osteoporosis, right? I talk about having an egg right here in the crease of your hip, where your top thigh is and your low belly. And if you visualize that there's an egg here, when we try to crack our eggs is when we're actually doing proper hip flexion. So you could imagine you have eggs right now, actually, in right where your legs attached to your body in the hip crease. Hold on to your knees with your entire palm, not at the side, but from the top. So your arms are straight and your arms are actually holding the weight of your legs, because I'd like you to turn off your hip flexors and not have them do too much work, because we're going to stretch the low back here. And the top of the hip flexor, one of them, the psoas, attaches to your low back. So let's create loose, let it be loose so that we can actually do some nice stretching here. Inhale. As you exhale, draw your knees in, start to crack your eggs. Crack your eggs, draw your knees towards your chest. Feel the thighs pressing into the belly, the back pressing into the floor. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, crack your eggs. So this has the ability to support digestion as well. And digestion is very important for bone health, because if you don't properly digest your vitamins and minerals, your macro micronutrients, then you cannot properly assimilate them. If you can't properly absorb and assimilate, then they're not there for your bones to build more bone tissue. So this actually is not only great for low back, it's also good to digest and to help compress the abdomen. Let's go ahead and come into a pressed abdominal cavity if you can. Move back and forth. And then let's go ahead and release. All right, let's take your strap. Now, if you have a strap that you could loop, I'd like you to loop your strap about 12 inches in diameter. And if yours doesn't have the ability to loop, then tie it into about 12 inches, right? Tie a loop. So do whatever you can. Bring the strap onto your legs. We're going to begin with a first posture, which is the bridge posture. So we're going to begin stabilizing the pelvis, keeping ourselves in this nice linear fashion. And then from there, we're going to move away and start to add strength from different ranges of motion in the hips in particular, other parts of the body too. Let's take the blanket away from the back of the head, lift the head up, and then arrange yourself so you're more narrow across the upper chest. And you'll do that by tucking the outside part of your arms underneath you and the shoulder blades closer to your spine. So set yourself up to be nice and narrow across the top. And then just let's take the feet and keep them where they are neutral. Push out on the strap. Now the legs should not be wider than your body. So you need to adjust your strap so that you don't have a lot of length. And then lift your head and tuck your chin towards your chest. Let's take an exhale. Push out on the strap, flatten the low back into the floor, and let's begin with the inhale to peel the spine up and feel the spine leaving so that when you get to the heart, you push your heart up. So you're bending your spine, not just lifting it as a flat unit. I want it to bend and move. Exhale to lower, articulate your spine. So you have discs between the bones. Squish the discs. Squish the disc from front to back as you inhale to lift up, exhale to lower. You can push out on your strap. Notice that there might be a little bit of wobbly back and forth. And then that's going to really fire up the stabilizing aspects of your body to help to find balance in the legs, balance in the pelvis as we start to move through space and create a little instability and force our body to find stability. This is good for balance, joint coordination, and alignment. All important things for bone health. The next time you come up, stay up. And then work harder here. Push your feet into the floor and see if you can lift your pelvis a little higher. Bring your awareness to your spine. Could you bend your spine more by opening the front of your spine? Push your spine up, your heart up towards your nose, towards your chin. Deep breaths here. Take one more breath. And when you come down, let it be one vertebra at a time. Notice where you felt the strengthening there. Let's draw the knees closer to the chest. Take the strap off. Stay where you are. Now rearrange your upper body by rolling the outside flesh of the arms under you, shoulder blades closer to the spine so you get more narrow across your top. And then walk your feet about just a little wider than your body. So not narrow, but your feet go a little wider than your body. Toes are pointing forward. Flatten the low back, squeeze the tushy, and peel your spine up, up, up. We're going to come into another bridge posture, holding this for 30 seconds. Make sure that the weight is waterfalling to the upper back and not into your head and neck. Press your chin towards your chest. Knees are pointing straight ahead. Toes are pointing straight ahead. You could press your arms into the ground and let that be what actually helps to activate the shoulder blades, pressing into your spine and adding as much of a back bend so you're opening the front of your spine here, stretching your spine. Deep breaths. One more breath. Slowly, slowly press your spine back to the floor and come down. I'd like to do one more. If you're feeling that your tushy and your low back is a lot for it, maybe don't lift up as high the next time or don't stay as long. So we're going to take our feet a little bit wider, maybe all the way off the mat at this point. So that could be as wide as the mat. And I'm going to ask you to have a little external rotation pointing your toes outward. So we're going to be getting into different areas of our body. Arrange your upper body to be as narrow as possible. So I press my arms into the ground, I lift my upper rib cage off the floor, and I slide my shoulder blades in, and that makes me more narrow on the top. Feet may be as wide as the mat, or heels on the mat, toes off. That might be a really good place to be. And then you can walk your feet a little closer to your body. For me, with this one, I definitely feel the tendinous part of my quadriceps that go over the kneecap when I come up. So notice if that happens for you as well. We're stretching our quadriceps and hip flexors when we do bridge posture, stretching the front of the body, strengthening the back of the body. Let's begin by pressing the tushy, squeezing the tushy and pressing the low back into the ground, and then peeling yourself up, 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 up as high as is comfortable for you. Feel the back of the ribs leaving the floor. So you're really adding that back bend to the upper spine. Your spine is not linear here. You're bending it. You're bending it and opening the front of the spine. Chin is pressing towards your chest. Chest is pressing towards your chin. Heart is pressing up towards your eyeballs, even though they're closed. Your inner eyeballs are opened to notice what you notice. Lengthen your knees away from you. Deep breaths. Posterior hip, back of the hip, tushy muscles. Press all parts of your feet into the floor so you distribute that tension. Feel the burn, feel the muscles trying to lift you up against gravity. The more of you there is, the harder that is. So for those of us with extra stored energy, it's a little more challenging and better for bone strengthening. Take one more breath. Slowly, slowly bring yourself down. Blanket back underneath your head. Draw your knees in. That's 3 bridge postures. I find bridge to be one of the best postures that there is in the practice, the physical practice of yoga. It is tremendous when you can strengthen the back of your body. It's supportive of your spine, your hips, your knees, so many aspects, your posture, your alignment. So that right there is one of my favorites. And I teach that in almost every class and private session that I ever have with people. All right, low back took quite a bit of work there. I'd like to stretch the low back. So let me show you what this looks like. Now, a little interesting, I did learn this from a teacher who is a PhD psychologist and really works on fascia in the body. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing. For some of you, maybe too intense. For some of you, okay. The other option would be to get a blanket. So you could get a blanket and put your blanket like this, okay? And then you put your hip bones on the blanket so that your low back gets a nice stretch. Okay, so that's an option to do that. And then for those that are a little bit more hardcore, we're going to do that with a block. I know it sounds crazy, and it is. And I haven't done this for a while, but it definitely goes below the belly button, in between the hip bones. And it's going to put a lot of compressive force on the belly, squishing and moving around lymphatic fluids, pressing on intestines, tapping the microbes of your microbiome, your bacteria, and then breathe down to your belly. And the goal here is to get a release in the low back. So you want to make sure you're in the right place. You could move to a place where it feels appropriate. And then to help the breaths and to not compress the breaths, if you turn the palms up and you let the arms go alongside your body, that might help. We'll be here for a couple more. Take one more breath. And then come off the prop, whatever it is, blanket or... And then bring yourself here to a Sphinx posture.
And then bring yourself so that your knees and your feet are on the ground and your forearms are right underneath your forearms, or the elbows are right underneath your shoulders. So walk them a little closer. Most people have them too wide. So have them closer so that they're very supportive. And then walk your feet together so that your big toes are about an inch apart. And then you're going to dig your knees into the ground, dig your low legs into the ground, and allow the low back to float up towards the sky. Come into a modification of dolphin. Draw the knees towards the elbows towards the knees. This is a version of a plank, and it's very supportive of the core, which is supportive for fall prevention, for stabilizing our trunk, for supporting posture, balance, alignment. Let the low back be pressing up towards the floor. So push your belly button like crazy. Take one more breath. And then draw your elbows back so that you could then come up onto your hands. Okay. So I hope you're doing okay. Remember, you do the appropriate place for you, for yourself. Let's take your hands onto the mat. So they're right, and well, actually, let's get the blanket, because I know that not all knees like to be on a hard surface. And I've never liked to have my knees on a hard surface. So let's take the hands directly underneath the shoulders. Let's take 1 foot back. So we're gonna do a plank. We're gonna do a 30-second plank, then we're gonna do another one. We're gonna do them from different angles with our feet so that we have more strengthening of the hip flexors and other aspects of the hips. So we're gonna be really linear at first for the first 30 seconds. We'll come down, take a break, then we'll go with a wider stance to come into the second plank posture. So really creating strength from different aspects. The first one is that stable, the natural joint alignment position. So taking 1 foot back, push your heel back, feel that stretch in the calf. Let's do the same thing with the other. Push your foot back, feel the calf stretch. Really yummy stretch, actually. Then push your foot into the ground, lift the other foot up. So make sure that your feet are about hip distance, which means it's not as wide as your body. And then look down to your fingers, spread your fingers, press your fingers into the floor like crazy. And be as long as you can from the center of your heels, up your legs, to your hips. Pelvis is stable. Spine begins in the pelvis. Your spine is nice and long. The back neck is nice and long. And then let's come down. Take your wrists. So see, 30 seconds doesn't seem that long. So that was one. We're going to come to the other. If this is too intense for you, coming onto forearm plank, resting the body weight of the upper body here. And remember, what we're doing here is we're strengthening the wrists, which is a very important aspect of fall prevention, injury prevention, healthy aging, osteoporosis, all of it. And if 30 seconds is too long, can you do 1 breath? Can you do 2 breaths? And just challenge yourself to wherever you are challenged and do something, whatever that is. And know that, yeah, this is kind of strong. So if you're not able to do it all, don't feel bad, because it is we're going pretty strong today. All right, pointer fingers are forward. Fingers are underneath your shoulders, because that'll help. Take 1 foot back wide as your mat, and the other one back as wide as your mat. I personally think this feels easier to do. So see if it feels that way for you. Look down at your fingers, spread them, and press them into the ground like crazy, because I will help distribute the weight. And then push your heels back like crazy and push your feet into the ground so that your feet are really helping you here. 1 more breath. And then bring yourself down. 2 planks. And 3 bridges. Shake your arms. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to come to standing and do some of the standing postures in the hip joint. So if you would like to come up from here, If you're kind of taking it a little bit easy, you can come here and come all the way to standing from this position. And then for those that would like to do a little bit more stretching of the back, because we did so much with the bridge, we're going to go through a down dog plank flow. If that's you, the key is never, ever, ever do you do this. Never putting pressure. It's not just about rounding the back, it's about pressing the front. It's really what happens here that matters if you have osteoporosis. So when we come into the down dog plank, you want to keep your torso as long as possible, and it's all about hip flexion, cracking your eggs. Raw eggs are here. You try to, it's this right here. This part of your body moves, not your spine. So please be safe. Safety is first. Bone strengthening is second. All right. Flip your toes under, take an inhale. As you exhale, feel like you're cracking eggs where your low belly and your top thighs meet. And then come into this with your head forward. So the gaze can be right where the wrists are, so that you're pretty close to a neutral. And then walk the dog. It's called, well, my teacher in India doesn't like us calling this down dog. So take the legs one at a time, where the outer edge of the pinky toes are pressing towards the floor. Feel that stretch coming into the back of the thighs. And then let's inhale to come forward. Exhale, both heels, crack your eggs. You could bend your knees a little bit here. Feel the stretch in the back of the body. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Stay here. You want your head to be near your arms. Don't look down towards your toes, because that's going to round your cervical spine, which will then round your thoracic. Tailbone to crown of head, super long. Take one more breath. And then you're going to come forward, knees come onto the ground. And bring yourself up. Yoga is a practice that we could safely do for our entire lives. And that's what makes it so amazing. This work here, doing this, pushing away from the floor, lifting up away from the floor, all of that is so powerful for so many aspects of your muscles. And we could do it forever, which is really beautiful, and anywhere, which is really great as well. And you know, in the birthplace of yoga, which is India, they don't use mats or all of this stuff, right? Because it can be done anywhere. Okay, so let's come to a standing now that we've kind of calibrated our body here. Leg is forward, flip the back toes under, bring your, look forward, do not look down. Don't let, if you look down, everything goes down. We don't want that. Keep lifting off the front of your spine, push your back foot and bring yourself to a standing position. And then you're going to move your blanket off to the side. For those that need a chair, get a chair. If you have precarious balance, get a chair. We're going to need our block and our strap, so have them handy. Get yourself ready. Do you feel your core? Definitely feel the core from all of that. Oh, and the quads. Who doesn't want strong core and strong quads? And here's the thing too. When you have more muscle mass in your body, the energy production cells in the muscle cells. So it's actually great for energy as well. So it's good for like our joie de vivre, that youthfulness of life, to have stronger muscles. So lots of great stuff is happening here. Okay, so let's go into our tree posture. This is going to be weight bearing from the natural angle of the hip joint in a natural linear progression. So we're going to load that joint and challenge it to find that stability. So a lot of stabilizing muscle work when we come into single leg balance. So take your hands down alongside your body, or if you're precarious with balance or just newer to the practice, if you take your hands on your waist and you push your elbows back, make sure you don't have shoulder earrings, and you push your elbows back, that actually puts the shoulder blades on the back to help you with stabilize. So let's take the hands down alongside the body, or hands around the waist. Bring yourself over to your weaker leg if you know you have one. Come onto your tippy toes.
knee out to the side, and then bring the foot in between the ankle and the knee, push away from the floor, embrace the dance that's happening in the joints, and find something to focus on, to look at, that doesn't move. And then if you want to actually add your arms into a different position, you could come into a different position with the arms and smile. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself out nice and graceful the whole way through. Early on in this practice, the physical practice of yoga, I remember the relief to get out of something, and it's like the stomping down. But we're going to come in and out gracefully so that we could just maintain that nice stability the whole way through. Hands are down or on your waist, whatever you're doing in your practice. Let's push your body over to the side. Let's make that stability with that foot on the ground. Come onto your tippy toes, knee to the side, and bring the foot up in between the ankle and the knee. Finding your gaze to stare at, finding your arm position that's appropriate for you, and then focus on your breath. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself forward. Bring yourself out. Let's shake your legs. Shake your legs. Take your legs up and around. Let's do a little hip joint here. Hip flexor, quad. Yours may be like this. Or even this. It's all moving the hip. Just one of those for this. They all just use different muscles, different pressure on the muscles. All right, perfect. So we are going to go into a triangle posture. So let's go into triangle. We're going to bend down to get our stuff. So we're going to bend at the hip joint, being really aware because we're in a yoga for osteoporosis practice right now. Do not press into the front of your spine here. Do not squish the jelly out of the jelly donuts to the back of your spine. Keep yourself lifted, bend at your hip, get down to the ground to get your block if you use a block. For those of you that don't quite have that range of motion to get down to a block, get a chair. Get whatever you need. So we're gonna put our block on the ground, bring ourselves into the wide position here. So now look at how wide you are in your hip joint. And when we weight bear here, now we're putting force from a different angle on the hip joint. So let's take the front foot to point forward, the back foot to point back. Legs stay straight here in the triangle. Really let that front leg bone push deep into that socket, creating a lot of compressive force. And spine stays nice and long. The shoulders are forward, up, back, and down. And then reaching down with the hands, inhale, let the pelvis go back. You're bending at the hip joint. So feel that bend and feel the legs muscles stretch. When you can't go any farther, with length, reach to keep your spine nice and long, and bring your hand down onto the chair, onto the block, whatever it is you do, whatever your practice entails. Block can go behind you, can go in front of you, whatever feels appropriate. Push away from the ground, keep your legs straight, and really pull on whatever you're pulling on, whatever bones you're getting. The arm could be up and over, rotate the chest forward. Feel the power. Go ahead and bring yourself all the way up on your next inhale. Now, typically in some classes, in the more advanced classes, you could go right away into that twisted triangle. Right? That's how some of those classes are, where you go from one to the other. We will
go to the other triangle and do a twisted triangle from a more static position. So take the block on the ground. If you're going to use the block on the ground, the legs are wide. Prepare external rotation on the front foot, internal rotation on the back foot. So setting your hip joints up here at different angles in your pelvis. Shoulders are forward, up, back, and down. Reach your hands down, and then inhale, inhale. Bend that front hip joint as much as you can. Feel that stretch in that front leg. And when you can't go any farther, you come down into your triangle pose. Spiraling your chest forward is important here. So really get that nice spiral in your chest. Don't close off your upper body. If you lengthen from here, reaching up and over, if that's available to you. See the breath as power, so draw that breath in. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself all the way up. So one of the reasons why it's not so safe for us to go right into that twisted triangle is because what's really important is that you keep the spine long when you come into your forward rotational movement. And for many, that doesn't happen. There's a rounding and a compression or adjusting in certain ways. And so anyway, because I've been asked that, why don't we flow? Why don't we move through things quickly? Because it's really important to establish that alignment position when you go in. And especially if we are out of our 30s or 40s, because there's more potential that we have things happening in our joints, maybe some wear and tear, maybe some scar tissue or some bone spurs. So want to be really thoughtful and careful here. All right, let's do a twisted triangle. So pulling on the outer hip capsule. That's what twisted triangle. I'm actually going to do it here with a block. I don't always practice this with a block, but I want to say that it's actually really, requires a lot of flexibility to do this. So this is what it's going to look like. For some of you, maybe doing a chair would be better. So whatever you're going to do, and if it is the first time you're practicing without a chair, being near a wall, I recommend, because this posture, the twisted triangle, is strength, flexibility, and balance all wrapped up into one package. And it is Dr. Fishman's number one posture that he would take on a deserted island with him. Okay, so to come into the twisted triangle, you have your feet about 2.5 feet apart. You push your feet into the ground, the toes are pointing forward, and the bend happens at the hip joint. So feel that hip joint bend. And then if you're going to reach for a chair or a block, there's a diagonal. You're reaching across your body. So whether your arm is on a chair or it's on the block, you have to not have a round spine and your legs are straight here. So for many, they don't have the range of motion to keep the spine nice and long and the legs long. And so if you don't, then you can't use a chair instead of this block. Grab the floor with your feet, embrace the wobble wobble, and really lengthen and rotate your trunk. Take one more breath. To come out, take the tension out by bending that front leg and keep your head lifted as you slowly bring yourself up. Let's go to the other side. You bring your foot forward. Your toes are pointing forward. You're about 2.5 feet apart. Really grab the floor with your feet. Chair if you need it. Wall if you need it. Push your feet into the floor. Lengthen your spine. Hug your lumbar spine to activate your core. Bringing yourself forward, forward, forward. And then you're going to reach diagonally across, whether that's on the chair or forward to the block. Long spine.
Long legs, long spine. And smile. Take one more breath. To come out, you bend front leg, bring yourself up, 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 and out, out, out. All right. Block between the legs, strap with the loop between the arms. We're going to do chair posture a few ways to really fortify that stabilization, lots of hip work here, and then lots of lower body strengthening. So the chair posture is a lightning bolt shape. That's what we want. We want the tushy to be back when we come down into this because we're bending our hips. You don't have the tushy go straight down and you don't have your tushy over your feet. Your tushy has to be back. Okay, so that's really important. And take your hands in your strap, put it right where your wrists are. And if the wrists don't like that, this is meant to turn on the shoulder girdle. So if the wrists for some reason don't feel good with that, you can put it on behind your hand. All right, so let's squeeze the block. The feet are block distance. Do not have your feet wider. Feet are block distance. Let's go into this. So contract your core, point your tailbone down, and then lower down into your chair and lift your arms up. Lightning bolt shape. Tushy is behind your feet, not right above them. Deep breaths. Squeeze your block. Lift your toes off if you can, so you know you're really weighting the back of your body. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself up. Let's take the block out. Put the block away. We're going to come into a chair now with a wider stance, still using the arms and lowering down. Remember, the tushy goes back. You're not right, your tushy's not right above your feet. So toes are pointing forward. Let's go about mat distance here and have your pinky toe edges be parallel to your mat. Contract your core. Exhale. Inhale. Bend in your hips. Come down as low as you can into a squat. Push out in your hands. Lift your arms. Push your tushy back so it's back behind your heels. Press your belly button to your spine. Lower your tailbone or point your tailbone down in between your heels. Really push out on that strap so that you're stimulating the shoulder girdle, the upper back. Look forward. Don't let your head look down. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and come up. Definitely a challenging class today. Probably one of the strongest classes I've ever taught. Not sure everyone who's here, because I can't see that far away. I don't have my glasses on. So if you are new, or if you're not, this is one of the stronger classes. I'm sure the ladies will say that at the end today. I feel it in my body. I feel all that strength in the lower body. It feels great, and we want that, but I just wanted to put that out there. So don't think that you always have to practice pretty hard. Let's get some of that tension out of our body. So we're going to make like a figure 8 with our hips. Have your feet be about hip distance. Take your hands onto your pelvis here, and then push this hip forward so this hand comes forward. And then let this hand go up, and then this other hip goes forward, and that hip goes up. So it's a figure 8. Let your knees be bent. Let your toes be off the floor so you're more in the back of your body. You're not in your knee joint in the front. You're rolling around in your hips. And then turn this into a hula, side to side. So your waist shortens here, the waist shortens here. These are actual movements of the pelvis. So rolling around in the hip joint. And then come up, feet are together. Let's go around. So if you want to step from the side. And I feel a lot of stretching in the low back and the hip in a nice way in the pelvis. So hopefully it feels nice for you as well. And let's go in the other direction.
kind of unwinding anything that happened there. All right. So let's go down on the ground. Bring your strap with you and your blanket. When you do go down, bend your knees, bend your hips, keep your head up, come down onto the ground. Make sure you do not press on the front of your spine. Whenever you can, raise your awareness to that. Sliding away to come down whenever you can. That's important. Let's go ahead, get the strap. Let's stretch our legs. Do one of the postures that stretches the back of the legs. Let's see if we can release any tension, if there is any tension in that lower back pelvic area. So draw the right foot in and then put the strap on the right foot. Slide your hand down the strap. If you'd like to take the left leg long, take the left leg long. Take your hands down the strap. So we're going to hold this for 30 seconds, pulling on the pelvis. This is pulling on the bones and stressing them out. So pull down on the strap, firm up the leg. And let's begin by pulling the leg behind you as you push away at the same time with the muscles. Let your right waist be really long here, not short. Pull down, push the leg away with the muscles, and pull the leg towards the back wall. You may be able to get a deeper stretch today because of all that was done preceding this posture. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and release. Bend the knees, both of them, as you draw the foot back, and then draw the other knee in. Let's place the strap on that foot. Pulling the strap down, deeply rooting that leg in the socket, pressing towards the ground. Pick up your opposite leg and straighten it if that's appropriate for you. You don't all have to do that, depending on what issues you have in your tissues. Pull the strap down, deeply rooted, and then firm up that leg, nice long waist. Let knee is straight, and then draw the leg back. Deep breaths here. Firm up the leg, push it away, pull towards the back wall, nice long waist. One more breath. And then release. Draw the knees into the chest, rocking side to side. And then you're going to come into a Shavasana, a well-deserved Shavasana. So come into whatever version you would like. You could come into your Shavasana as a regular traditional Shavasana. Make sure your head is supported. Or if you prefer to put a bolster underneath your knees or legs up the wall. Let's come into this nice, well-deserved relaxation posture. Allow yourself to integrate all that was done today.
고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 고민에 무겁네 우다래야 바래 가리영 가리영 내 맘에 가네 Gently begin to notice your breath. Bring your awareness to your fingers and your toes. Start to move them. And drawing the knees into the chest. Draw the knees into the chest and then roll your head side to side. Rolling the head side to side, drawing the knees into the chest, or ways to help release tension in the body. And then coming onto your side, you're going to push away from the floor. Let it be your shoulder that leads away, not the head. So don't pull yourself up, push yourself up. Use the push muscles to move away from the floor. And then bring yourself into a seated position to close the practice. So we're going to use the sound Om. Om is a blending of the Ah, the O, and the It's the sound that humans make during an exhale. So Ah, Om. Your mouth goes from open to closed. Let's take your hands, draw your hands towards your chest. Press your heart to your thumbs and your thumbs to your heart. Feel that nice erect spine, opening the front of your spine, lengthen the back of your neck. Slightly tuck the chin down towards the chest and make sure your head is on top of your torso. We're going to take a big exhale to make space. Inhale all the way down to the base of the spine. Bowing and namaste. Namaste. So that was actually 12 postures. 3 of them were bridge and 2 were plank and 2 were chair. So a lot of lower body strengthening, which is going to be amazing for you for stability, for balance, for alignment, great for fall prevention, and a lot of stimulation to the pelvis and the hip joint and the femur bone. All things we want and need if we have bone density issues. All right, so I'd like to hear from some of you. I thought that was pretty strong. And I think I'm pretty strong, so that's why I think it was really strong. So let's see. I noticed that somebody came. Hi, Martha. You know what? Martha, my husband made a mistake. So my husband, he plays poker, and he's actually in the World Series right now in the senior tournament. So I think in his haste to get the heck out of here and having his mind in his tournament, he sent out the wrong link. So I'm so glad that you guys are all here. And it said chair, like yoga therapy chair to me, which is not even, it's not even a class I teach on YouTube. So I'm so grateful that you guys were able to come. I'm going to change the name, but yeah, sorry to confuse you. Very strong class. Good, Carol. I know you love that, Carol, and you can do that whole thing, which is amazing. Great, Carolyn. Yeah, good. Yeah, and you're strong, Sharon. You've been doing this for a long time now. I don't know, 6 years or whatever it is. Kathy, I know it all says Wednesday. I'm going to tell him. Anyway, all right, ladies, 1 more week. We have next week together, and then we're off for a week. And then we come back for 4 more weeks to end out 2021. And then I'll be off at Christmas time or the holidays or whatever. All right. So thank you so much. I hope you feel okay. Drink a lot of water, and you can always watch this one replayed. I'll rename it, and I'll put it on my list as one of the ones. And I'm actually going to say that it's strong in my description. All right. Have a beautiful day. Yeah, I know you like that, Martha, and this is good for you as well. Like some of you that I know that are here, is Donna still here? I know you guys can handle this, and I think that this is the kind of work we want to do forever, to be able to practice at this level. Just if there's anyone here that, not those of you that I see, and maybe is newer to the practice, you just need to be really aware when you're doing this, the stronger work. All right. Thank you. Have a great day, ladies. Bye.